Can we please have a wardrobe that is stylish, ethically made, and makes us feel good? Hell yes. Join us on the Scenic Red podcast as Valerie Mayan from Yellow Cake Shop shares her insights on merging fashion with fair labor practices and sustainability. Hi, and welcome to the Scenic Route podcast, where we believe in embracing life's journey with purpose, curiosity, and a bit of potty humor. I'm Jen, a sociologist, someone's uncool mom, and I'm always looking out for that perfect slice of gluten-free rhubarb pie. Every week, I get the joy of sitting down with dreamers and doers who dare to take the road less traveled in pursuit of their own magic. Together, we dive into the inspiring stories of soulful entrepreneurs and visionary leaders who boldly share their beliefs, lessons, and fuck-ups. Excited? So am I. You're exactly where you're meant to be. And now, let's take this conversation off the beaten track. Valerie Mayan is the innovative mind behind Yellow Cake Shop, a distinctive brand known for its luxury handmade clothing. As the owner and creative force, Valerie has committed her brand to crafting high-quality garments in the United States tailored for the everyday working woman. Not only is Yellow Cake celebrated for its style and quality, but it's also a beacon of ethical and socially responsible fashion. And if her name sounds familiar, that's because Valerie showcased her incredible talent on Season 8 of the Project Runway. Valerie, hi. Welcome to the Scenic Route podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Tell us a bit how you became interested in sustainable fashion and what inspired you to start your own slow fashion business.
Yeah, so I became interested in fashion much later in life. I actually went to school for illustration and graphic design when I was fresh out of high school. I always wanted to be an artist, and I just figured I'm going to be a painter. And illustration seemed like the most approachable way for me to do it. I didn't feel like I could pursue fine art. I didn't feel edgy or talented enough, and illustration was fun, and it seemed it was digestible for me.
Yeah.
But in the back of my mind, I'd always wanted to pursue fashion, but I never did because I grew up in a very traditional Latin American household where, you either become a doctor or a lawyer or a teacher or you marry rich.
Right? Not an artist.
Yeah. And so for me, which was funny to me because my dad's a home builder. He came from nothing in Guatemala, and he made his business. Literally, he learned how to build homes through trial and error and through osmosis and learning, and he's a genius. He really is a master craftsman. And so he's an artist in his own right. And so
absolutely.
That for me to become an entrepreneur and an artist myself it was an abomination to my family. So I really put off pursuing fashion for a long time because I felt like, being a painter and artist was one thing, but being in the fashion industry was just like a sinful, horrible.
People just put the nail in their coffin.
Yeah. And so I never pursued it until after I graduated from my first degree, and I'd been bartending at a restaurant that was a little bit higher end, and I was working part time at BCBG, which is that French design Max Sazria, and. So I was getting a really good discount on French clothing, and I was working at this high-end restaurant as a bartender. And so a lot of the women there would often ask me, "Oh, I love what you're wearing. Did you make that? Or, where did you get that? Or who made what you wear?" And I got tired of telling them that I couldn't make it or I didn't make it. And I was like, I could probably make this. And so
that's something that would never occur to me. I know I could not.
Well, I wasn't sure if I could. I think in my mind, I was just thinking I've never tried it, but could I? Maybe I should try it, So I just figured I've always wanted to do fashion. Why not now? So I enlisted the help of a friend. There was a woman who asked me to make her a dress for some event. And I knew this friend of a friend from BCBG where I worked. It was this girl's sister, and she was taking sewing class at this local college. And so she helped me make this dress that I designed for this woman. And things went sideways really fast. This woman, she offered me double what I was asking. So I was like, whoa, this is awesome. And she was, having us meet her at the Ritz for her fittings and all these really, fancy places. But then at the very end, she ended up not wanting to pay me the balance that she owed because she wanted to pay the girl that was sewing it instead of me. And I was like, so because I didn't actually sew it myself, but I'm the person that orchestrated everything. I'm the person that picked out the fabrics. I'm the person that designed the garment on paper. She didn't want to pay me the rest. So I really took that to mind. And I said, I should just learn how to do this myself. And so I took a few classes at the same school that my friend went to. And my friend had nothing. She was not in the wrong. She didn't do it.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
That's kind of I'm going to decide how to pay you and this person, even though I agree.
Yeah, it's not up. It's not your decision. It's not your call.
Yeah.
I'm setting the terms and boundaries. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. She agreed to the terms and then she reset the terms. And then she told me that we were charging her too much. And I was like, you upped your own price. It was bizarre. It was almost like she was drunk when she agreed to everything. I don't know what happened, but and I was very young. I think I was like in my early 20s at the time, or maybe mid 20s. So I didn't know what I didn't know. But after that experience, I was like, I worked too hard to not get what I deserved for this, And so I took
good for you.
Yeah, I really think that was the turning point for me when I was like, I should learn this, and maybe this is like the impetus that I needed to actually step.
So the gentle kick in the butt to just like
exactly. So I enrolled at the same school that my friend was going to, and I just said, I'm going to take one class and see how I like it. And I took a class. The class I took, the intro class was called I think it was like how to make a button down shirt or something. It was like the basic. Or I think it was even like not even a button down. It was like a tank top, like a no zipper, no sleeves, just a tank top. And I did pretty good. And I was like, oh, I could do this. So then I took the next class and I took the next class. And I took enough classes that I was like, I decided to drop out of the whole program because I didn't have enough money to actually take all the classes that came with the whole, it was like an associate level fashion degree.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean,
I was like, I don't have the time and I don't have the patience. And I was already in my mid to late 20s. And so I was the oldest kid in the class, because most of the girls in there were, right out of high school. And so I was like, I'll just read books and, figure it out. And so I only learned how to make a top, a skirt, and a dress. And then I dropped out because I couldn't afford to finish the courses financially or, with my time. And then, I just Googled the shit out of everything I could find on fashion or fashion mentors or fashion blogs. That I didn't want fashion blogs about style. I wanted fashion blogs about the process. I wanted fashion blogs about people in the fashion business. Yeah. And I came upon Kathleen Fasanella, who was the author of a blog called Fashion Incubator, is a hyphen in between. So if anyone goes looking for fashionincubator.com without the hyphen, you'll end up in a very different place.
Okay.
So
we'll link the right one in the show.
Yeah. So we want to go to fashion-incubator.com. Now, I honestly have not been on her blog, though, in quite some time. I mean, I was on it for the first 4 or 5 years of my fashion journey. But that's, that was in 2009 to, 2014 and 2015. So I haven't been on it in a while, but I actually took one of her classes. She offered us one class once a year in New Mexico. She only offered it to 3 students, and you had to fill out a questionnaire because she has Asperger's. And so she was like, I only allow certain people to take my class because I can't handle certain personality types. And if you don't,
I love Des' approach. Ooh, yeah. Yes. Des himself is best business lesson. Know yourself and
set boundaries.
And design your services, whatever it is, and design your business accordingly. And it doesn't mean it's not going to be successful or whatever, right? It just
It means it works for her. Yeah. And so we joke now because after that class, she was my mentor for a while, and we keep in touch a little bit, but not a lot. But we always joke about that. She said I barely passed that quiz to be able to take her class because I'm a little more I talk a lot. I'm kind of and she,
I see where that could go not so well with someone on the Asperger's spectrum.
It'd be too much for her. Yeah. So with myself, it was another girl named Kit, and then it was another woman named Cindy. And Cindy and Kit and myself were the 3 that took the class. Cindy was from New York. I was, living here in Cleveland, Ohio. And then Kit was local to Albuquerque. So we were there in New Mexico. We all flew in. I think it was before I went on Project Runway. I think I was in my mid, I think it was maybe 26, 27 at the time. And it was 3 days. And we stayed, Cindy and I shared a hotel, and it was great. We learned a lot about, the process and the ins and outs and just the do's and don'ts of running a slow fashion business and what that looks like. And why it's best to employ your neighbors and employ local if you can, have more time and money. Yeah. You're going to want to do that.
Was there a specific inspiration of, you could have gone high end, right? You could have gone a million different ways within the fashion industry. How come you were no, I want to do slow fashion. That's the right approach for me.
Yeah. For me, at first, I was really discouraged because I loved fashion so much, and I was very conflicted because I wanted to pursue, the traditional path of fashion that people, the devil wears Prada, the Mac whores,
which has its allure. I mean,
right.
Rightly
Yeah,
so, right? I mean, we all like nice things. It's
right. Yeah. So I think a lot of people assume that, we draw pretty pictures, we send them off to some, couturier in Paris, they make it, and then it ends up on the runway.
It's very Cinderella, like we have like...
Yeah, it's very like, I cannot handle when I watch a movie, it's typically a Disney movie or some kind of like made for TV Hallmark movie where there's like a woman who's like a high powered fashion designer exec, and she like, has like the look, and she has like the limo driver, and she like I think there's this new show on Netflix called Glamour. It's about some, I think.
Oh yes, I've seen it. I'm a sucker for all of good and bad TV.
It's so cheesy, but it's like when I look at some of those sort of stories, how they're just like showing these designers in a very unrealistic way. I'm like, no one does it like that. It's not that easy. Like, it's not just like all glitz and glamour. It's like a lot of backbreaking, difficult work. Like, it's really hard, and I wish it was that glamorous, but it's not. I would say it's like maybe 3% glamorous, like maybe 3% glamorous.
So
okay,
so that brings me to an interesting question that I'm like, okay, how? Like, so you kind of like went into like the glitz and with like a thing for the glitz and glamour of the fashion industry, realizing, it's anything but, right? But you're still doing it. So what happened? What switched? Like, how were you like, this is actually even better?
Yeah. So for me, being on Project Runway, I think opened my eyes to some of that. Love the slow fashion side of it because I feel like it's what I know and understand, and it's what I feel is making a positive impact in my industry. So the reason I was so conflicted before about doing fashion at all was because, I think my parents were like on one shoulder being like, this is simple and it's the worst, and like this is frivolous and wasteful. But the other part of me was like, but no, like our industry, like the fashion industry as a whole is this big bad monster, right? Like it's responsible for a lot of pollution. It's responsible for a lot of, a lot of human capital is wasted and deteriorated and damaged. It's it's the reason for a lot of terrible things in the world, especially marginalized children and basically like literally killing people so we can look cute, right?
And look cute when in a different outfit every fucking day, which is
right. Exactly. Yeah. And so my industry is notorious for doing a lot of really bad shit.
Yeah.
But there's this other side that's like, okay, well, slow fashion, what does that mean? Slow fashion is where we ethically, honestly, thoughtfully, responsibly produce garments that people can wear with purpose, that can provide jobs and give people fair, living wages and quality of life, that promise to create products that are not going to, deteriorate and break down in the next year. Like we offer free repairs on everything that we make for our clients. We offer a buyback program so that it doesn't stay in your closet, or if it doesn't fit you, you can bring it back and you can, we can resell it and keep it circular, and you can buy new product with your credit. Like we try to think of ways that we know we can do our best to do the least harm, right? Now, that said, there isn't a single fashion brand that exists. I don't care how much linen you use. I don't care how much, eco-friendly cotton you use. I don't care if the fabric you are using is upcycled from the underside of your grandmother's bed. Like, it doesn't matter what material you're using or how eco-friendly you think you are.
Yes.
There's not a single fashion brand on the planet that is doing zero harm. There is no such thing as a waste. Like,
yes.
Everything is waste at some point. There could be such thing as less waste or more eco-conscious or more sustainable, but there's just really no way that any of us that are making product that are adding to the pile, even if we're upcycling stuff, we upcycle stuff all the time too. Even if we're upcycling stuff, it's still perpetuating the pile and bigger. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love this point, right? It goes into the discussion and the broader, almost like philosophical discussion of how sustainable can you truly be, and like how can you address the tension between, like economic growth, which we all want as business owners, regardless of service business or product based, and like whatever true sustainability means, right? Given that our current economic model relies on continuous growth, right? Like it growth numbers that have to go up every year because capitalism. And like how do we navigate this tension on a very real, practical day-to-day basis?
Yeah. I think for me, what I've found is the best approach is almost like when people say things like, how do you approach the work-life balance? And I think
It's a question.
at least in my experience, attaining the work-life balance, it's not attainable for me right now in my season because I'm doing a lot. I'm achieving a lot of goals. And so, yeah, there are some nights where I don't see my kids as often, or there are some nights where I don't work out, or there are some days where I don't eat as well as I like to, or there's some days where I don't wake up at 5 or 6 a.m. like I would aspire to, like that just doesn't happen sometimes. And so what I try to tell myself is like, okay, it can get done tomorrow. It can get done tomorrow. It can get done tomorrow. And I have to prioritize in my day the 3 things that I know I need to do that day. And if I can get those 3 things done, then I win. And then the rest is all like, a perk. And then if it can't get done that day, then it can get the next day.
Yes.
And if it can't, then it has to be priority. Absolutely. And so it's the same thing with approaching sustainability in our lives and, the whole mason jar trash can thing. Like that works for some people. But it's
great if it works for you. The whole minimalism thing too, right? If it works for you, it's great. But
yeah, like I love the idea. And I think, I would love for me and my family to evolve to that state somehow in a way that works for us. So like my approach is, I always say that we are realists. We're not idealists, right? So what can we do in our sphere of influence, in our capacity, in the world we live in? And what can we do? Like how uncomfortable are we willing to make ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Like my husband and I are just starting this thing called YNAB. It's like the You Need a Budget program or whatever, and it's a way for us to because we have to buy a new car. We weren't planning on buying a new car this year, but our old car just is tanking and putting money into a piece of shit car that's not going to last us more than a month. And so okay, well, how do we come up with $12,000 to $15,000 for a new used car in 30 days, right? And so we're using this budget system, and I'm like, the other day he bought like a coffee and a donut for our daughter after he went to church, right? And then the next day he bought like a slushie for the girls and they went on a walk. And I was like, dude, I'm not trying to be the money warden, but like I was looking at our bank accounts in the last few months, and collectively he spent $600 a month on little things like that, like Arby's, Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks, slushies. And I'm like, dude, like $600 a month?
That's like already a good chunk towards the money we need for the car.
Yeah. So I was like, listen, it's going to be uncomfortable for a little bit, but this is the goal we have, right? So let's make ourselves uncomfortable. It's the same thing with sustainability. It's like, how uncomfortable are you willing to make yourself to try something new?
Oh, this is such a good point.
Right. Like could you, instead of buying shit at H&M and Target and Forever 21, like instead of buying a new outfit for, that event you have to go to, can you shop your closet? Can you shop your friend's closet? Can you shop Poshmark or Marketplace? Or can you sell some of your old shit before you buy new shit? You know what I mean? Like if people sometimes tell us like, oh, I love your product, I love your business, but it's too expensive. And it's like, okay, yeah, it might be too expensive for some people in their life.
For right now, for the season you're in.
But let's talk about where we put value. You know what I mean? Like my husband spends a lot on electronics. I could give 2 shits about electronics. I don't play video games. I have the same set of headphones I've had forever, and I have one, keep this phone until it dies, right? But I put more value on experiences, right? So I like to eat out.
Oh, I'm an experienced spender too.
Right, me too. Or if I could treat myself to a spa day, I'll do
hot stone and like take my money.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the thing is like, we all put value on the things that we cherish, right? So some people not realize that maybe clothing for them, even though it's not a current value, maybe it needs to be if they want to have a nice purse or they want to have a nice garment. And if you think about it, it's really broken down to cost per wear, right? So you could get 5 cute dresses at Target, right? For maybe $30 each. Okay, that's $150. Or you could spend $184 with me and buy one of our jumpsuits. It's going to last you like 5 to 10 years, and it has fewer, and it has a buyback program. You can't.
Yeah, and that like usually has the better fit, the better fabric, and like,
and you know who made it. You know what I mean? You know where it came from. And so again, no shade to people that shop at Target. I shop at Target.
No, it's not about like blaming and shaming, right? Like, I mean, we have to evolve from that. That's just getting people into defensive. But
exactly.
I mean, except for shame people. Sorry, I want to shame people. Like that shit is insane. I'm serious. That
and what is doing, but he is even taking young designers and they're offering to manufacture their stuff. Like,
people just to rip off what they do from like independent artists. Like it's bad. But anyway,
they're not even making good money on it. Like the money that they think they're making or that the people think they're making, it's pennies. It's pennies.
Yeah, I don't even want to give this brand a platform because like I'm like no, so fucking over this. But yeah, like I'm still circling back to like how uncomfortable are you willing to get? right? It's so fucking true, right? Like it takes you longer to take a train than to fly. Are you willing to feel uncomfortable for that? Yes, it might suck to give up meat for a while. Are you willing to kind of like do that? And
Right.
and also like when it comes to experience spending, like I had to realize at a point where I'm like, no, I don't want to like get my nails done in like the cheap place where I'm kind of almost sure they're ripping, like they're not earning a living wage. So I'd rather go to like not a chain brand, like where I'm sure she's actually making a living of the service she's doing,
Right.
or I'm not going at all, right? Because I'm like, how can we, like, it's so interesting, right? We're like talking about like, how can we, like, how uncomfortable are you willing to feel? But at the same time, we're so oblivious to like tune everything out, right? We know that fashion is polluting the planet. We know that fashion is causing damage to especially women of color. Like we know all this shit. This isn't new. And which is like, right? Go shop at H&M and just keep on doing the same shit, right? It's interesting how we can like somehow, and when you get, sometimes I'm a sucker for getting into Twitter argument or X arguments as it's called. I don't know. And I'm like, well, how can your uncomfortableness in maybe having to spend more time while you scroll through Poshmark or eBay or whatever, how is that uncomfortableness like worse than the uncomfortableness of the people making your clothes in shitty conditions?
Right.
How dare you to put that on a scale? How dare you to put your comfortableness on a higher pedestal than the people of actually making your clothes? Like,
right. And I think the problem too is that a lot of people just don't know. You know, it really is ignorance is bliss. You know, people either they just want to know or they don't want to know because they really just want to keep shopping without feeling guilty.
Avoiding cognitive dissonance and just be like, I didn't know.
Or they just don't even know it's a problem. Like you'd be surprised at how many people are surprised at the truth and, you know, the real underlying issues and how it affects. And then there are a lot of people too that think, oh, well, I'll just buy secondhand. I only buy secondhand. That's all I do. So I'm doing fine because I only buy secondhand. But even that in and of itself, you know, over consuming anything is never a good thing, you know? Yeah. So yeah, you would think that like me as a business owner, you know, making clothing, wanting to sell as much as I can so I can make as much as I can would be like, yeah, buy all the things. You know,
yeah.
Sure.
The tension of like our economic model of continuous growth.
Exactly. And so that's the thing is like, yeah, of course I want you to buy everything you can from us, but over consuming one thing is never a good thing, you know? So, and there are other things that we, you know, we're working really hard to figure out other ways that we can, you know, still grow the business without making more stuff, you know, like, so can we offer, can we have the buyback program? Can we, you know, offer, you know, upsell by creating products that are, you know, maybe a little bit of a higher price point. So we're still growing the revenue, but we're not making more product. We're just making better quality or higher quality or different levels of quality, you know? So like we have our cardigan, right? And the ponte knit, but then we also have our classic cardigan in full leather, you know? So what are things that we can do? And even then, like, you know, it's all about going back to being a realist and not an idealist, right? So yes, I want to be doing our best by the planet as much as possible, but we also want to take into account, you know, the things that are within our capacity. Like we just, as a small business, especially, you know, we don't have the bandwidth, we don't have the marketing laws, we don't have the horsepower to do a lot of the things that bigger corporations can do. And oftentimes it feels like consumers hold small businesses to the same microscopic standards that they hold corporations to. And we just don't have,
or even to a higher, standard, right? Like everyone is cheering H&M for their buyback program, which is clearly greenwashing, and like, and then expecting small businesses to do at least that or more,
right? Because we're supposed to be the saints of business, and corporations are the big bad wolf, and it's like, hey, we're here to also make money and also make profits so that we can feed our families and grow our company, and our employees can have, you know, wages and benefits that can support their families. Like that's not easy to do. And I think, you know, I don't expect consumers to retrain themselves or relearn things, but I think we do sometimes hope that our consumers or that our clients,
well, to some extent, we all need to do a little relearning, right? Like I mean, even like, I don't know, when was like, there's a day in a year when we kind of like have exhausted all of the world's resources for the year, and like that day is gone, like, I don't know, in July or something. Like, I don't know. So it's like we're clearly living all above our means in general. So we have to relearn a lot of things back. And there's some great initiatives that are popping up every now and then, right? Like rebuying, or the whole kind of like sharing economy where you have like rents, right? So I'm curious though, like how you said about a lot of people, you sure don't even realize like kind of like what it takes for like an ethical slow fashion business. And that kind of like goes into the whole thing I said at the beginning, right? Like when you're a service provider, all you need is a laptop and a working internet connection, like off you go. And like you have much more skin in the game from like the get-go.
Yeah.
Like what are some of the, like, I don't know, if you could tell anyone who's listened about like 5 misconceptions of making slow fashion, of like, this is really the key 3 things you need to know about what it takes to build a slow fashion.
Yeah, I think, just to give them a quick snapshot, I mean, when you're setting up a studio, right? So, most people think of a sewing machine, they think of the small little machine that you put on a tabletop that, maybe you had as a kid or at your grandma's house.
Oh, that's not going to cut it.
Yeah, so these industrial machines that we use, they're anywhere from, $800 to $3,600 a pop. And you need at least 3 of them to run an operation properly. You need a straight stitch, you need a serger, sometimes you need a walking forward or cover stitch, right? But then you also need your dress forms, your mannequins. The mannequins can be anywhere from $500 to $1,200, and they're pretty heavy to ship. So sometimes the shipping is just as much as the mannequin itself because they're cast iron. Then
that's insane. You
need your irons, and the irons are usually about $150 to $300 a piece. The special gravity feed irons with like the steam, the water reservoir.
Like the big heavy duty ones. Yeah,
and then the ironing boards themselves are about $100, $150. The pattern table, you can get a regular pattern table, like a hobby one if you want, probably at like Joann's for $300. But the kind that we need, we have 12 footers that are 8 feet wide to accommodate the fabric rolls. We had to have ours custom made because you can buy them online for maybe, $1,000 per linear foot, or we had ours made for $2,000. We had it made locally, and then they had to assemble it for another $1,000. So we paid $3,000 just for our table. So that's already like what, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's like $5,000-$6,000 just in sewing machines, pattern table, and dress forms. And that's
not human labor, nothing.
Yeah, that's not the labor. That's not your cogs. That's nothing. That's not even your rent or whatever you need. Not to include the shipping, the software you need, where you shop.
And the fabric you need, right? You still have not bought any fabric at all.
Yeah. And even though we're buying at wholesale prices, we're still spending thousands on fabric per month, not per year, per month. So, and the labor too. The labor for us, the labor is the part where we cannot skimp. We don't skimp because we want to make sure that our sewers are making, at least for our region, they're making about 16 to 20 per hour on average, depending on their efficiency, right? So we pay in our industry, we pay by the piece because we can't pay by the hour, because if we pay by the hour, then we are basically penalizing, a sewer who is really, really fast,
which makes sense. Yes, of course. Right. They're making 3 pieces an hour. Someone just makes 1. Then...
Right, exactly. And then the sewer that's, less efficient and less skilled is making more money. And that's not fair. So, and also in order for us to regulate our pricing, to be able to, budget and cost things out.
You need to know cost per piece.
Right. Yes. Exactly. So, and there's just a lot that goes with it. I mean, that's not even including the fees for trade shows and retail shows. It's not including, the overhead for staffing. I mean, there's not only that, but for the patterns. Oh my gosh, the patterns alone, the paper itself, but also the pattern grading. Pattern grading.
That's insane. My hand is spinning.
Right. For pattern grading.
I wouldn't have to get a Canva subscription.
Oh yeah, it's a lot. I mean, and that's the thing too. When I talk about consumers, being a little bit too demanding or being so high, even when it comes to size inclusivity, we work damn hard to be as inclusive as we can. And right now, we currently go up to 3X. We're hoping to add more sizes,
which is amazing already. Yeah, right?
And I know that there are a lot of women out there that are plus size that have been burned and been mistreated by the fashion industry. And so I'm
raising my hands in solidarity. Yes.
It pains me whenever I have women that come into our booth. We have to work really hard to make sure that women of all sizes know that when they shop with us, we can either, if we don't have what they're looking for, then we can make it, right?
No.
But a lot of women used to come through our booth and they, without even looking at the clothes, without even looking at what sizes we have or even asking, they would just say, I'm too fat for this. This is for skinny people. And so we started making sure that we photographed our curvy clients and our in our garments.
Really work on your brand.
They would see it, and then they would stop. They would look at it. They would I would literally see the gears in their head turning because they would look at her, because we have a couple models, Q and Jamie, and they look at Q, they look at Jamie, and then they'd be like, where are the clothes that fit her, that fit me? And so I would show them, and then they'd be so surprised, and it would literally bring me to tears almost, because I could see how excited they were. But at the same time, we still have some, we can't accommodate everyone yet. We're doing our best, but there are still big brands out there that don't accommodate women even up to a 3X. And so
or if they do, the patterns, I'm looking at you, H&M.
Right.
The patterns are so ridiculous. I have no idea what they take as a model. They just probably do the size 0 or 10 or whatever, and then they just
make it
scale up, which is not how it works. I mean, I'm not a fashion designer, but I'm pretty sure that's not how it works.
Yeah, because women hold their weight in all the different places. And so it is definitely an art. And I would say the thing is, too, that people don't understand is that even pattern grading, where, we can't do that ourselves, because it's almost like a science. You need special software. It's very mathematical. You can pick it up really easily. And so we have a pattern grader that we have to pay that can grade our patterns for us.
Kind of real specialist who does that. Oh.
Yeah, it's just, he can take our extra small patterns and make them medium, large, XL, 2X, 3X, whatever. But it's a very specific science and art.
Mm.
So, to pay for that, I mean, for one style to get a pattern graded, sometimes can be anywhere from $300 to $600. Then to get it printed in triplicate, because we have sewers in Chicago, we have sewers here in Cleveland, we have sewers in Parma. We have to get patterns printed in triplicate. So that's going to cost another couple $100. And that's for one style. We have almost, I want to say 100 plus SKUs that we make. So do the math on that, So a lot of people think, oh, well, you can add, some people assume that, small brands like us don't add more sizes because we don't want to. But that's not it. It's just because of capacity. It's expensive.
Add more sizes. That only, because they don't want to, that's what you can tell the big ones. They have all the resources. They just don't want to have. They just don't want to see fat people in your clothes.
Well, not just that, but they also just don't want to spend the money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they just don't care.
They don't do the research. They don't think that curvy women don't want cute clothes, and so they don't bother with it. And it's like going to a restaurant, right? If you go to a bakery, you don't go to a bakery expecting to order ramen noodles, right? You don't go to a Mexican restaurant expecting to order, I don't know,
sushi.
Right? Yeah, sushi. So every place has its specialty. And so I'm not saying that all fashion brands can only make straight sizes, but the brands that are doing straight sizes and plus sizes, it's a special, it's definitely,
right. Absolutely.
Labor of love. Sure.
I mean, I don't personally don't care that, I don't know, Chanel will never do plus sizes, which is fine. Right. But I mean,
didn't Karl Lagerfeld had a props the worst.
He was the worst.
Totally fat phobic. And
oh my God. Yeah.
It makes sense that some of these brands would do that. And that's exactly why, one of the reasons why I couldn't go into that part of the industry. I had a Project Runway, after a year or two, they sometimes would invite you back to go to the runway event, where they have stuff. And so, a few years after I did it, they kept inviting me back because I was still considered fresh meat. Right. And then when I did All Stars, they invited me back again. And I remember I went back one year to attend with my friend Mondo, who was on my season. And it just felt, I couldn't wait to get back to Cleveland. I like New York. I like visiting. I don't think I could ever live there. I'm just not cut out for it. But it felt like everyone was sizing each other up, and everyone was asking, well, who are you dressing now? And who are you working with now? And what celebrities have you, made, carpets for? And then, some people that you'd met before that you thought, you had a significant impact on, or people that you think would remember you, didn't remember you. And you're like, oh, hi, Joanna. And then she'd be like, you. And you're like, okay, cool. So yeah. Well, it was a very self-serving, very shallow part of the industry that I just didn't want to.
It sounded also very elbow pushy, right?
Yeah, exactly. It didn't appeal to me because I love the FaceTime I get with my clients. I love when we do a retail show and Melissa from Detroit, Michigan buys 3 dresses and she literally comes out of the dressing room clapping because she didn't think she could find a dress that made her feel as good as she felt in hours, because, we have a client, Samantha, who bought a couple of pieces of ours the previous year, and she came to our booth and was like, you know what, when I wear your cardigans, I negotiate higher for myself in my job when I'm, like it's that kind of stuff.
Just like the confidence when you wear something that truly fits you and you don't end up tucking everywhere, like.
Right. And it's not about, if you look better than the person next to you, or if you're higher status than the person behind you at that fashion event, or if you got front row seating and so did. Like, it's not about keeping up with the Joneses or the Kardashians or whoever. It's about you and how you feel what you're wearing and how it's going to help you live your best life,
Yeah. How you are feeling when you wear this, how you're acting differently, how you think differently of yourself.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, people always say you are what you eat, right? Well, you're totally, you are what you wear, like you dress for the job you want. That's so true in so many senses of the phrase,
Yeah. I mean, it's say what you want, right? There are people who are like, oh, I don't care about fashion at all. And that is fine, right? But we know, science tells you that the first impression you leave, if someone sees you for the first time, first impression matters. And clothing is such a big part of that.
Oh, yeah.
And yes, I mean, we all stereotype and we're all like getting it wrong sometime, but you're just sending out a message, right? And I always say to my branding clients, right? Like, you're sending out a message anyway, regardless of how you brand, how you dress, how you wear makeup or not, right? Like, just make sure that what you're kind of like sending out, like what you're like building, what you're like the architect job is like on purpose, by design, and not just by choice or luck or coincidence.
Not only that, but like, think about like, during the pandemic when we were all wearing pajamas to our meetings, you're all wearing work, right? Like, think about how we felt, right? Like, do you feel more productive when, you're showered and you have makeup on and you're dressed like in your favorite outfit, Do you feel more accomplished, more ready to take on the world? Or when you're wearing your pajamas, sitting at your desk, on your work from home day, like, do you feel just like, like going back to bed? Do you feel like snacking every half hour? Do you feel like watching Netflix, or do you feel like skipping out on work and walking your dog? Like, both scenarios are fine. You know what I mean?
Oh, God, yes. And I mean, I know people who like are super killing it in their yoga pants.
Right.
But I know this is, even during the pandemic, I got up and got dressed because I know the yoga pants life, it's not for me.
Right.
Like, yeah, like, no.
like, I'm not one of those people that's like, women have to dress like women, or you have to be polished every day. Like, I'm lucky if I get makeup on my face like once a month. You know what I mean? And like, when I have a meeting to go to or a networking event, you better believe like my hair's gonna be done, put on some makeup. I'm gonna like dress like I know what I'm talking about as a designer, because as a fashion designer, I have to look the part. Like, I can't sell you a car if I have a shitty car. I can't convince you that I can cut your hair well if I have a shitty haircut myself. So like, if I'm trying to sell you style and sell you confidence and sell you what I'm making, I have to look like I know what I'm talking about, which I think I do. Not today. Today I don't. Like, I came from a workout. Okay. But like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing is like, yeah, right. But it's kind of like the first layer, right? Like, it helps you to bring a certain point across, in especially when you just have like a teeny tiny split second of convincing people if they should stay on your website, on your booth, looking at your face, whatever it is, until they're like, bored, moving on. Right? Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then you gotta actually follow up with I know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. Well, and not only that, but there's a lot of studies that show that when you're wearing when you're wearing something that makes you feel confident, or when you feel good in what you're wearing, you're a lot more decisive, you're a lot more assertive, you're a lot more able to focus, you're a lot more authoritative. So like that girl that approached me and said, yeah, whenever I wear your cardigans, I negotiate higher for myself. Like, that's what we want. Like, that's our why, right? Like, we don't make clothes because it was the only thing I was good at. We don't make clothes because it was fun and we like shopping. We make clothes because we saw it as a vehicle to help women achieve more in their careers, achieve more in their industries, achieve more in their families and their households, to be able to have a seat at the fucking table. You know what I mean? Like, people are always talking about having a seat at the table, but like, sometimes there isn't a seat available. So you have to, you have to make your own table, right? Like, we can get there by taking the stress out of what's already stressful, right? Shopping is stressful. Finding the right jeans is stressful. Yeah. How to job is stressful. All
especially, yeah. And I mean, especially plus size for sure. I mean, I don't think currently there is any shop at the like on our local high street where I could actually like physically shop because we have been abandoned from the darkest corner of the shop to exclusively online, which is like fine. But if you need something at the moment,
it's hard. Yeah. And if you think about it too, think about, you know, the struggles that women face already in the workplace, you know, in corporate America and, you know, climbing the corporate ladder and breaking the glass ceiling, what have you. You know, there's already so many struggles that we have to face, right? Like, to be uncomfortable because we're afraid that our panty lines are showing, or are our pants too tight, or is our cleavage too low? You know, like we don't want to, we shouldn't have to worry about those things because men sure as hell don't. And maybe that's also one of the reasons why they might, I mean, obviously, one of the reasons why men have climbed faster than us is because of patriarchy, right? Because, you know, it is what they were afforded the opportunities that they afforded, but now we can kick ass just as much, and we shouldn't let what we're wearing infringe on that, right? So if Yellow Cake can dress you comfortably, dress you stylishly, dress you well, and keep you within your budget, and you can be comfortable doing that, and you can also still wear that to your vacation, to your girls' night out, to your daughter's graduation, you're not having to buy 5 different wardrobes to live all the aspects and the avenues of your life, you know? And then you're not having to do too much laundry. You're not having to get all the dry cleaning done. You have the one wardrobe. It can suit you as you need. Yeah. And it focus on everything else in your life, you know, the kids and the PTA and the volunteer stuff and the wine club and the workouts and, you know, growing in your career. And so for us, that's our why, is we want to help women more because we believe that women should be like skyrocketing. Like, we waited far too long in the wings for our turn, and it's about damn time, you know? So
it's about damn time. There's no better fucking way to end this. It's about damn time. I wholeheartedly agree. And yeah, like I seriously, I love your message, and I really hope this is kind of like the legacy that you, with your business, that you kind of leave in the fashion industry. And we just need more people of like, especially now where we see so many indie brands closing down. It's tough as fuck. I mean, I don't know, once a week or like once a month, I go on my websites of indie fashion brands I like, oh, closing down sale, or like letter from the founder, and you're like, this ain't good. So yeah, I go support, shop local, go support your indie makers. Like, I love this. It's about damn fucking time. I have one last question before I kind of like leave you be. What book are you currently reading?
Oh, well, I just finished this book by Chris Powell called Never Split the Difference.
Oh.
He's a well-known FBI negotiator. And he just talks about,
that sounds interesting. I have a book.
It's really good. And I love, I do audiobooks. I can't, like, I don't have the focus of
That's fine. I love books.
But I love audiobooks because I can listen to them while I'm running, or while I'm doing dishes, or while I'm driving. And so yeah, it's a really good book. He talks a lot about how a lot of the techniques and tactics he uses in negotiating hostage situations or negotiating, you know, bank robberies and kidnappings. You know, he talks about how a lot of those can be applied to any area of your life, whether it's your marriage or your friendships or even your business, you know.
Okay, I've got to put this on my pile.
Yeah, it's really great. It's really interesting too. He just talks about simple things that you can do, you know, even like if you're trying to buy a new car, right? So like I'm trying to buy
like outsource the car sales guy, which is like entry level negotiation skills.
Yeah, like you want to use questions, like clarifying questions, like to start with what or how. You don't want to use do or can, right? You want to also make the negotiation you're trying to press towards make it feel like it's their idea. But then also like that's always the fun. Come to the table with 65% of what you're willing to pay, right? And then that way it gives you, you know, incremental increases. When you finally make your final offer, the commando. So yeah, it's really cool. Then there's also stuff I'm reading about Gretchen Rubin. She has a book called The 4 Tendencies.
Yes, she also has a great podcast.
Yeah, she's great. She talks about, you know,
which is your tendency?
I don't know really. I think that I am definitely more of the rebel. I didn't think I was. I thought I was more of an obliger, but I think I'm a rebel obliger. My husband is definitely I think a questioner obliger.
Okay, I'm a rebel. Like I cannot even fucking deny it. I'm like,
what is it? It's rebel, questioner, obliger. What was the other one though? There's the one that does everything on time and
yeah. Oh, I forgot. But yeah, that one.
It's like, but my husband he's really good with schedules and he's always on time and no one needs to tell him to be anywhere on time. And like, I'm never on time. And so, yeah, that's just how, I mean, I've accepted it, but I'm also trying really hard to grow and learn and be better, but
that's the thing, right? We're all fine. We're all doing our best here.
Right.
So Valerie, where can we find you? Where can we learn more about Yellow Cake Shop? Like, tell me where you hang out online.
So you can find us at yellowcakeshop.com. It's just like it sounds, the dessert plus SHOP. It's the American spelling of shop, not the British spelling. So it's yellowcakeshop.com, or you can find us on Instagram at yellowcakeshop or on Facebook at yellowcakeshop, CLE.
Or also, of course, everything it will be linked in the show notes. So Valerie, thank you so much for this peek behind the curtain of the slow fashion industry. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And just like that, we've reached the end of another journey together on the Scenic Route podcast. Thank you for spending time with us. Curious for more stories or in search of the resources mentioned in today's episode? Visit us at scenicroutepodcast.com for everything you need. And if you're ready to embrace your scenic route, I've got something special for you. Step off the beaten path with my Scenic Route Affirmation card deck. It's crafted for those moments when you're seeking courage, yearning to trust your inner voice, and eager to carve out a path authentically, unmistakably yours. Pick your Scenic Route affirmation today and let it support you. Excited about where your journey might lead? I certainly am. Remember, the Scenic Route is not just about the destination, but the experiences, learnings, and joy we discover along the way. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to seeing you on the Scenic Route again.